and the other thing is, I believe starting January 26th, anyone coming into the US must go to the COVID test. That's another way. Probably they want to, make sure everyone is safe.
Which is high time, right, Ranjit? They should have done that a long time ago. Other countries are doing it. Not
Yes,
quite
I
sure
believe
why they
if
need
you
to.
have to go to India, for example, from US, you have to take a COVID test within last, I believe, 2 or 3 days,
Right,
and
India,
submit it.
Pakistan, most of South Asian countries, they're all
Yeah, I
doing
think
it.
they just started doing that. So yeah, other important topic that's a need of the hour is the comprehensive immigration. So instead of increasing the number of green cards, which is mostly opposed by Republicans, the current administration tactically wants to reuse or recapture the unused green cards, which are, I believe, about 220,000 of them. So how do you think this is going to work out for the current, people in black log, as well as how not counting derivatives, I believe, will significantly almost double the green cards. So how do you think this will help, and what are the chances of getting them passed in the given circumstances? What do you think is going to happen?
So for the family based, I think they have said that they will actually increase the number of green cards per country. Employment based, it's not clear, but that's more controversial, as you said. But even if they use the unused visa numbers, and if they use only one number per family, it could even quadruple the number of green cards, because if you're a family of four, then four people are using four different visa numbers. And it's likely that even, main thing is India and China, right? And mostly India, EB2 and EB3 is what we're worried about. So there's a likelihood of it becoming current, hopefully, or very close to current, if that happens. And with reference to whether the bill will pass or not, that is really time will tell. I don't think it's going to pass in its present form, that's for sure, because a lot of Republicans that supported the comprehensive immigration reform are not in office anymore. That's one problem. And the other is this bill is much more liberal, and more democratic oriented than the previous comprehensive immigration reform bill. So there's not enough restrictions in here, and I think the Republicans will want to see some more restrictions before they actually agree to pass the bill. But the good thing is we need 10. That's the golden number, the magic number. And I'm hoping that they will be able to find 10 Republicans in the Senate who will agree to pass it, or maybe they will pass it on certain conditions. So it's likely that you will see the same thing that happens always, that the House will pass a certain version, the Senate will pass a certain version, and then they will have to reconcile it. But since it's being done early on in the Biden administration, this is great. He's not waiting for his first term or first year or second year to do it, like Obama did. So we have a lot of time to work on it before it expires, and before the Democrats lose majority, they have time to actually work on it. So this is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, another key thing that's good for a lot of people is people with doctoral degrees. Most of EB1s will not be counted against green cards probably, and that would add some more visa numbers, and hopefully, let's assume.
Right. They've also said, Ranjit, that graduate degrees, so not just PhD, but also master's STEM degree holders, they haven't said what relief, but they have said that they're going to make it easier for them to get green cards. So maybe they will remove them also from hopefully. If they do, then it's a bonanza that opens up, because most of the numbers are being used by them, right? By the STEM EB2
Yeah,
and
I
EB3
think
category.
20,000 a year H1B quota goes to them. So
Right. So if they remove them from the equation, then really we are looking at a current, all categories becoming current.
well, apart from this, one other thing is the COVID stimulus bill that that Biden's administration is proposing also has green cards for doctors and healthcare workers. So that's another thing that we have to keep in mind. If that's going to pass, there are more chances, because now we know that a lot of healthcare workers are doing a lot, risking their lives. So if that happens, that would add another 40,000-50,000 to the
Correct.
pool.
Yeah,
And
and most probably to EB2, where it's most needed for doctors, because they qualify for EB2. So that'll definitely add, because that'll be removed from the pool. Yes, you're right.
yeah. Okay. Going back to one question that has been asked a lot of times, I would like to the viewers to know about it. So a lot of people now have, few people already got their EADs and advanced paroles on the 485 adjustment of status. Now people are wondering, what happens if they leave the country and enter on advanced parole? Will they have their H1B intact? Do they have to do something? What happens to their dependents? So can you please explain what happens exactly when someone enters the US on the advanced parole? Will they still have their H1B like that? Or their H1B is gone and dependents will not be able to use the H4 or H4 EAD?
So if they travel on advanced parole and if they're on a H1, they are able to come back to the US and continue to be on a H1. That's an exception that they have from the general rule. So if you're on a H1 and you are not using your H1B visa to come back in, but you're using advanced parole, it's fine. You can still continue to work on a H1 and use your H1, and your same thing with the dependents, the H4s, and they will then continue to use their H4 visa. They can continue to use their H4 EADs. Advanced parole will just be used as a way to travel back into the country, but doesn't actually change your status upon arrival. It continues to be, 485 pending and H1. But as opposed to that, if you use your EAD to work, then your H1 is out the window. You have changed to an EAD status, which is you're just on adjustment of status. That's your only status pending 485. You have lost your H1 status, and same thing with H4. If they use their EADs based on that they got from the 485 and not their EADs based on the H4, then they're no longer in H4 status. So there's a distinction between what you're using. If you're just using advanced parole, then that's fine. It doesn't affect your underlying status. But if you're using EAD, then it does.
Got it. So I would again like to repeat the disclaimer here. Please note, this show does not provide any legal advice and it is general in nature. It is only for informational purposes. Sakshi TV News or agents are not responsible in any way for your actions. And again, if you want to reach to Attorney Prashanthi Garu for a private consultation, please reach her at 212-354-1010 or prashanthi@reddyesq.com. So Prashant, one more question we have got offline from a lot of people is, traveling while the adjustment of status is pending. So what are the implications people have to keep in mind, especially when they have to travel for emergency and still their adjustment of status is pending and no EAD or no advanced parole yet, or sometimes not, they might have even not got receipts because, the receipts are so backlogged. People are still waiting who have filed, I believe, in the October mid or later.
So depending on what basis you're filing your 485, if your basis is family based, then forget it. You cannot travel unless you have an advance parole approval and you use that advance parole to travel. If you travel without advance parole, then you have lost. Your 485 is gone. It gets denied. But if you are filing the 485 based on employment, which is, I guess, what you're asking, then you can travel as long as you have status independent of the 485. As long as you have a visa, which will allow you to come back into the country, you can travel. But remember, if you don't have a visa, then depending on what kind of visa you're trying to get to come back, if you're on an F1, for example, and you're trying to get an F1 visa, then you will not get an F1 visa because you are an intended immigrant and you have the intention to immigrate, and therefore that precludes you from getting an F1 visa. But if you're on a H1, which allows dual intent, then you can come back. You can get a H1 visa and apply for one in the consulate and come back into the country.
We are hearing few news that, do they have to reapply the advance parole when they leave the country when it's pending, or that's fine? Any thoughts
Yes,
on
a
that?
good question. Yeah. So if first of all, if you leave the country and your advance parole is pending, you'll most probably get biometrics, and you won't be able to go for your biometrics. So practically speaking, no matter what the interpretation of the law is, your advance parole will most probably get denied, and you'll have to refile for advance parole. But suppose you did the biometrics and then you left the country, then you can always come back, and that should not cancel your advance parole application automatically. Now, I know in the beginning of COVID, there was some discrepancy on this, and some officers were saying that, this invalidates your advance parole application and it gets denied and you have to refile it. But I think there's enough consensus after that. And the law has always been that you can apply for advance parole and leave and do your biometrics and then leave, and your advance parole can even be mailed to you outside the country. And then you can use that to come into the country if needed.
Okay, thanks, Prashanthi garu. We are towards the end of the